It's 3 a.m. and you're staring at the ceiling. Your body is tired. Your mind won't stop. You check the time, again, and immediately regret it. You tell yourself to relax, and the trying makes it worse. The honest answer for why this happens is far stranger than stress, or screens, or coffee. Your ancestors had this exact same hour. They just didn't waste it. For most of human history, nobody expected to sleep straight through the night. The idea of 8 uninterrupted hours is recent. It's a habit your body learned from electric light, and it's one your biology never fully signed up for. Historian Roger Kirch spent years digging through diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe, and found something the modern world had quietly forgotten. People used to sleep in 2 distinct shifts. First sleep, beginning shortly after dark. Then, somewhere around midnight, a period of waking that could last an hour or more. Then, second sleep, carrying through until dawn. This middle hour had a name. The English called it the watch. It wasn't a malfunction. It was expected, ordinary, woven into the rhythm of every single night. So what did people do with it? They didn't panic about lost sleep, because there was no concept of lost sleep to panic about. Some prayed, some had quiet conversations with a spouse lying beside them in the dark. Some got up to tend a fire, check on animals, or simply sit with their thoughts in the kind of silence that no longer exists in most homes. Kirch found records describing this waking period as a time for reflection, for digesting dreams, for low-stakes intimacy between partners. Nobody reached for a phone because there was nowhere for the racing mind to go except inward. Here's the strange part. Sleep researchers have since found that this two-phase pattern may not just be historical curiosity. It may be closer to your biological default than the unbroken 8 hours you've been chasing your whole life. In the 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Wehr ran an experiment that quietly upended assumptions about normal sleep. He placed participants in conditions of extended darkness, roughly 14 hours a night, mimicking the long winter nights your ancestors actually lived through before artificial light existed. Within weeks, without anyone trying to engineer it, their sleep split into 2 distinct blocks, separated by an hour or 2 of calm wakefulness in the middle. Their bodies found the same rhythm Kirch had found in centuries-old letters and court transcripts. Nobody taught them this. Their biology simply defaulted back to it the moment modern light disappeared. So if you wake at 3 a.m. and your heart starts racing about it, you're not broken. You might be doing something closer to what your body was built to do, just without the cultural permission your ancestors had to do it calmly. Why did that permission disappear? Largely because of one invention that rewired the entire concept of night. Historian A. Roger Kirch and others point to widespread gas and then electric lighting in the 1800s as the turning point. Once light became cheap and constant, the natural boundary between day and night blurred. Bedtimes pushed later. Mornings stayed early. The long, slow evening that used to ease people gradually into a 2-phase sleep pattern got compressed into a single demanding block. And the watch, that calm hour of expected wakefulness, started to look like a problem instead of a phase. That's the real shift. Not that your sleep started breaking, that the world stopped giving it room to be what it always was. Now think about what actually happens to you at 3 a.m. in a modern bedroom. The room is too quiet, but also somehow too loud, because there's nothing to listen to but your own thoughts. The body is naturally a little more anxious during this window. Cortisol, the hormone tied to alertness, follows its own daily rhythm, and it begins climbing in the hours before dawn to help prepare you to wake up. That means the most anxious thinking you do all day is statistically more likely to happen during a window when your stress hormones are already rising on their own, with nothing to distract you and nobody awake to talk it through with. Your ancestors had an answer for this that you don't. They had each other awake in the dark every single night by design. Sleep psychologist and researcher Greg Jacobs has studied this gap directly and has argued that a significant portion of what we now diagnose as middle-of-the-night insomnia may actually be this ancient biphasic pattern reasserting itself, except now it arrives layered with a modern fear that something has gone wrong. The waking isn't the problem. The panic about the waking is the problem. You're not failing at sleep. You're misreading an old, normal rhythm through a brand new, anxious lens. So what does this actually change for you? It means the goal at 3 a.m. probably isn't to force yourself back into unconsciousness through sheer willpower. Your ancestors didn't fight the watch. They used it. Quiet, low light, low stimulation activity, the kind that doesn't pull you fully awake or flood you with light and information, mirrors almost exactly what people did in that gap for most of human history, and what limited modern research on the topic suggests may actually help the body settle back into sleep more naturally than lying there fighting it. The irony is that the very thing modern people treat as a crisis, lying awake at 3 a.m., might be one of the oldest, most unremarkable experiences a human can have. It's only become frightening because nobody told you it was supposed to happen. Tonight, when you wake up in the dark and the clock taunts you with how early it still is, you might try something different. Not panic, not the phone, just stillness, the way it used to be done for nearly the entire span of human history, long before anyone thought there was anything wrong with being quietly, calmly awake in the middle of the night. It's 3 a.m. and you're staring at the ceiling, and for the first time, maybe that's exactly where you're supposed to be.